Hey Jews, we're going to continue learning the book of Esther from Laz. We're trying to get to March 13th, the fast of Esther, with a deeper understanding of the wisdom that we are being taught, basically, with this story of Purim, which happened in our history, the fully documented history of the nation of Israel here at Purim time. So as we've stated many times, one of the time dimensions in our reality are the holidays like Purim. And at those times in our calendar, the spiritual energy comes back around, and this is an auspicious time for us to actually get the end of the story of the Jews, which is in the Torah, which is the redemption. So we've also discussed things like faith in terms of knowing, having knowledge of, and knowing with a conscious understanding that everything that happens in reality happens according to certain laws that the Creator made when He created the world and the reality with wisdom. So we understand the wisdom, and we base our belief system on knowing and understanding. So nothing happens without everything being basically controlled. Everything is done in a cause and effect manner according to certain laws. There are the laws of nature, as we've discussed, and they are in place until the end of time. There's also the laws that God gave mankind. He gave them to His nation, the holy nation of Israel, to live by these laws. And by doing so, we will be considered by the other 70 nations as a wise and understanding nation. So the nation of Israel, when we live by these laws, all is well in our reality, because mankind, the laws that govern both nature and morality, have been created perfectly by the Creator of the reality with wisdom. And that was given to us in the Torah. So when we live by these laws, we are known by the other nations as a wise and understanding nation. And when we do that, we obtain our higher purpose, basically. We obtain our higher level of consciousness, and we've gone through this in several different videos. The difference between the consciousness between mineral all the way up to speaker. And then from speaker, Medabachai, to Israel. So we're learning so that we understand, so that we can realize and have a God conscious awareness and a conscious level and a spiritual level, that we can understand that this time, 5,785, is a very special time. We are in a period where we are looking out for the redemption, and we also know that during Purim it's a special spiritual time, and we look into our reality right now and we see that there is reason for the Jews to be concerned. There is reason for the Jews to want to all come together and fast and cry out to God and get the redemption. So that's why we're learning. That's why we will continue to learn. And we're pretty close to the end here. So I'm just going to try to keep going, because we still have Shabbat and other things in between here. So we're on 7:1. We'll remind ourselves that in the previous video, we learned that Mordechai ended up having to bathe and shave and haircut Mordechai, and he had to put him on a horse and dress him in royal robes and proclaim throughout the boulevards and whatnot that this is a very honored man. So, and we also learned that Haman's friends and his wife was a sorceress, we're talking about his luck. Haman had thought like maybe his luck had just turned, but it will come back around again. But they reminded Haman that may be true with any other type of people. But when we're talking about the Jewish people, we're not talking about random, and we're not talking about luck. We're not talking about other forces that are in charge of our destiny, because the Jews are above that when they connect to God, because God is a creator of the reality, and nothing happens without God wanting it to happen and without God planning ahead for it to happen. So what God wants for it to happen is to redeem his nation. So it would just take, all it would take would be for us to just call out to him, for us to want that too. So that's what they reminded him. And then Esther had the guards go and take Haman right away to bring him to the second feast that she had prepared for him, the king. 7.1. The king and Haman came to drink with Queen Esther. The king and Haman joined Esther at the feast with no one else present. She had completed her fast and was now able to join them at the meal. Still, she did not drink wine, since she wanted to have a clear head when she pleaded for her people. Haman, however, was extremely depressed, and the king was also agitated from the events of the day, so they both drank in order to drown their sorrows. Esther refrained, merely placing the cups at her lip and making believe that she was joining them. Although the king had been very depressed, the wine lifted his spirits, and he asked Esther what was her request. 7.2. The king said to Esther again on the second time at the wine party, "What is your wish, Queen Esther? It shall be given to you. What is your desire? Up to half the kingdom, and it shall be done." At the previous party, Esther had told the king that she would accede to his request and reveal both her origin and her plea. The king had assumed that Esther would ask for some reward for Mordecai, so he made sure to take care of it before the party. "What is your wish?" said the queen. "Whatever you want, it shall be given to you. The only one close to you is Mordecai, and I have already paid my debt to him. You have no more need to ask anything for him. But what is your desire? What do you need? You are the queen, and you can have anything in the empire at your beck and call. What could you possibly lack? Since you have risked your life and put off your request twice, it must be something very important. There is no need for you to be bashful. You are queen and share power over the empire. It is as if half the kingdom is yours. Ask whatever you desire. Do you need money? Go to the treasury and take what you want. Is it someone's life you want spared? I don't care if his death is as important to me as half the empire. I will spare him because of my love for you. I've never taken bribes, but my love for you is more important to me than anything." God was guiding Esther's hand. She did not denounce Haman at the first feast, but only now, when the king was already displeased with Haman. Now that the king was beginning to get drunk, he would be even more impetuous in his actions toward Haman. 7:3 and 4. Queen Esther replied and said, "If I have pleased the king, and if the king thinks it is good, then grant me my life as my wish and my people as my request. For I and my people have been sold to be exterminated, killed, and destroyed. If we had only been sold as slaves, I would have remained silent, for the suffering would not be equal to the king's loss." Since seeing Ahasuerus in a receptive mood, Esther decided that this would be a perfect moment for her to reveal her origins. Her eyes brimming with tears, and she said, "How can I have any happiness from your kingdom and power? You have sold me and my people to a bitter enemy, to be exterminated and destroyed." Esther lifted her eyes towards heaven. "Have I pleased you, O King of the universe? Does the ruler of the world consider it good? Oh, please grant me my life and the lives of my people, and save them from my enemy." Trembling, Esther looked at the king. "All I can ask for is my own life. Beyond that, I don't deserve to ask for anything. My request deals with our people's arch enemy, to whom you have given the highest possible position in the empire. I therefore found it very difficult to speak to you about it. How could I start up with the man whom the king has promoted? So But since you have offered me half the kingdom, I feel that I can now speak freely. If the king fulfills my request, only good will come of it. If it would cause the king any loss, I would not say anything. The king must realize that it is good. Before anything else, I am concerned with the king's benefit. I am not asking for anything that I don't have. All I want is that what I have should not be taken from me. This in itself will be considered a great gift for me. I am of royal blood, a descendant of the famed King Saul, from the tribe of the sainted Benjamin. The enemy wants to kill me together with all of my people. The first thing that I request is that you grant me my life. Spare me from death. If you wish to give me a gift, spare the lives of my people. An order has gone out to kill my people. Obviously, I am also included, but even if I were not, how could I go on after seeing my people exterminated? What kind of life would be for me if my very roots were torn out? Better I should die and they should be spared. If we have been sold as slaves, I would have remained silent. I would have also been able to bear it. Also, you would not be punished so harshly. But now that you have signed an order to kill my people, my God will deal very harshly with you. My anguish in speaking up would not at all be equal to the king's loss. You will suffer even more than the people whom you are killing. The enemy does not care that you will be punished in the end. He wants to get his revenge, and then let you bear the blame. There is intelligence that he may be part of the plot to harm the king. As long as I am here, he is afraid to act, since I'm looking out carefully for the king's benefit. But he wants to kill me so that he will be able to overthrow the king as well. The enemy has no reason to hate my people. He speaks evil against them because he hates me and he wants to kill me. He is jealous that I became queen. He killed Vashti so that his daughter could become queen, and now he is ready to kill me. Merely to satisfy his desire, he was ready to kill an entire nation without any consideration for the loss that he would cause the king. He tricked you by giving you 10,000 loaves of silver in exchange for my people. Don't you realize that your loss will be much greater than that? The enemy did not give you a correct estimate of your loss. If we had been sold as slaves, I would have remained silent. You yourself would have realized your loss after a few years. You yourself would have seen that you lost so much more than 10,000 loaves of silver. You would have freed the Jews on your own, but now the decree is to exterminate them. If you have regrets later, it will be too late. Not a single Jew will be alive. My pain is not the same as the king's loss. Seeing what is planned for me and my people, I cannot think about any harm that the king might do to me. I therefore took my life into my hands and came to you without an invitation. If I were killed, at least it would be by your hand and not by the enemy's. If we had merely been sold as slaves, I would have remained silent. I would not have rushed to come to the king without being summoned. There would have been plenty of time, and I would surely have been called before long. Then the entire plot would have been overturned, since the king could not allow his queen to become an enemy's slave. But the decree was to exterminate and to annihilate my people. I could not wait patiently until I was summoned. Every day many lives could have been taken. Even if you wanted, there would be no way for you to bring them back to life. My people are as innocent as I am. I am queen and I can plead for my own life, but I am including myself with my people. Spare my people and I too shall be spared. Even if my people have sinned, the harm done is less than God's loss would be if his people were destroyed. You are a king, and you can appreciate what such a loss would be to the king of the world. 7:5. King Ahasuerus exclaimed and said to Queen Esther, "Who is it? Which one? Who would dare do such a thing?" Although Ahasuerus hated the Jews, he did not actually tell Haman to exterminate them. He feared God and wanted to have an excuse to retract his decree. Ahasuerus hated the Jews only because his fortune tellers had predicted that a Jew would inherit his crown. Upon discovering that Esther was Jewish, he immediately realized that the Jew who would take his crown would be his own son from Esther, his rightful heir. His son was Jewish because he had a Jewish mother. He now realized that the Jews were innocent, and his hatred was baseless. He had committed the sin in decreeing the death of the Jews. Esther's gentle words revealed that she was a Jew, stirring pangs of guilt inside him. Although the king loved Esther, he had considered her so inferior to him in status that he never spoke to her directly. He always used a spokesman. Now, when she revealed that she was a Jew, he loved her more than ever. Her words assured him that his greatest worry had been baseless. Furthermore, he now realized that Esther was of royal blood, from the line of the famed King Saul. He could speak to her directly. From habit, he started to give the words to the spokesman, but then he dismissed the interpreter and spoke directly to Esther. The king knew that Haman had issued a decree, but Haman had been so successful in obfuscating the issue that the king was not exactly sure of its content. Although Haman had hinted at extermination, the final draft had appeared to be merely a threat without a concrete plan for its execution. Who would dare kill an entire people without clearly informing the king of his plans? Furthermore, who would dare kill the queen's people, since a mistake cannot be tolerated? Whom are you talking about, asked the king, me or Haman? Or are you accusing us both? If not, then whom? Where is he? Whoever he is, I will find him. I will not rest nor remain still until I find him and punish him for daring to want to harm you. Who is so despicable that he would want to kill my queen? Does he hate you and Mordecai for saving me from Bigtham and Teresh? Does the fact that you saved my life mean nothing to him? Who is so foolish as not to fear my revenge? He can build the strongest castle, but he will not be safe from me. Imagine someone actually dared to do such a thing. Merely considering such a plan would be an act of treason, but who would dare to do such a thing? Looking at Haman, the king asked, have you heard anything about this? Do you know of a decree to kill the queen and her people? Who would dare to do such a thing? Haman remained silent, as if he had no idea what the king was saying. The king then asked the same of his other advisors through a messenger. They replied that they had no idea what Esther meant. They did have a good idea, but they were afraid of Haman. The king was confused. Had he actually signed a decree to exterminate the Jews or not? Is it possible that he had forgotten? No. A king such as he would not do that without careful thought. How could he kill his beloved Esther? I asked all my advisors and no one knew what you were referring, he said to Esther. I definitely did not sign a decree to kill you and your people. Tell me who dared to do such a thing and I will wreak vengeance upon him. I don't care if he's important to me as half of the kingdom. I will not tolerate something like this in my kingdom. To kill you, my queen, my dearest? Who would dare? I will not rest until I have destroyed him. 7:6. Esther said, a hateful man, an enemy, this evil Haman. Haman shrank before the king and queen. He's right here, a most hateful enemy, this wicked Haman. He's hateful here on earth and an enemy on high. He's your enemy and mine. He wants to kill the king, and as long as I'm alive, he cannot. He wants to kill me so that he will be able to take your kingdom. I've discovered that he wanted to kill you in bed last night. When his plot was foiled, he tried to get you to let him wear your royal robes and ride a royal horse. He even dared suggest a crown. In such a position, it would be very easy for him to attract the masses and start a revolution. Providence helped you and saw to it that the one who wore the robes was my cousin, Mordecai. You know that he's loyal. He even saved your life once. This Haman wants to hang him. He knows that Mordecai has his ear open for any plots against the king. All his accusations against the Jews are false. He wanted to exterminate an entire people because of his hatred for me and Mordecai. He is a man so filled with hatred for Mordecai that he didn't care if he harms an entire empire as long as he gets his revenge. But he's full of hatred and murder. If it was he who had Vashti killed, it was he who had Vashti killed, and he even plotted against your life with Bigtham and Teresh. Remember how he tried to rescue them? When I came in without invitation, he couldn't wait to kill me. He and his men were even plotting to divide up my clothes. I am surprised that you don't realize what a hateful and despicable person he is. Haman shrank from the king and the queen. All his lies had been uncovered, and the king and queen were united against him. He was terrified, realizing that there was no one that would intercede for him, or that could intercede for him. Actually, Haman had a good defense. He could truly say that he did not know that the Jews were Esther's people, but he was so confused and frightened that he could not think of the right thing to say.